Hello! I'm pleased to welcome you to this Burda style video. Today we are explaining how to sew style 4C from the Burda Easy magazine number 3 from May to June 2020. We will see how to construct this dress with a square neckline and a comfortable loose fit. For optimal results, choose a fabric that is fluid like viscose. If you prefer natural fibers like a cotton and linen blend or 100% cotton, this is also possible. You should then choose a fabric which is not too thick. I've decided on a striped fabric for the dress. If you would like to use a striped fabric too, make sure you place pattern pieces 1 and 2 along the same stripe to make sure that the stripes match at the side seams. The materials you will need are sewing thread which matches your fabric, fusible interfacing Veline G785 for the facings, fine sewing machine needle with a maximum size of 70 or 80, straight pins, fabric scissors and thread scissors, a tape measure, tailor's chalk, a pencil, and a ruler. Compare your measurements with those in the size chart in the magazine and choose your size accordingly for size 4C. Transfer the pattern pieces to the fabric and all the required seam numbers to show where the pieces for the dress are to be sewn together. Then add the seam allowances at the edges of the pieces. For this style, you will need to add 1.5 centimeters at the edges. The skirt panels are cut to measure. See the measurements given in the chart. Cut the facings of fusible interfacing and iron the interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric facing pieces by pressing, not gliding, your iron over the entire surface for a few seconds. Now I can begin to sew my dress, and I'm using the Elna Machine Experience 560 by Elna. I lay the front right sides together with the back and stitch the shoulder seams at seam number 1. Backstitch to secure the start and end of all your seams. I lay the front facing on the back facing and stitch the shoulder seams at seam number 2. I neaten the seam allowances at the shoulders of the dress and facings, then I press the seams open. I neaten the outer edges of the facings and pin the facing right sides together with the edge of the dress neckline, matching the shoulder seams, then I stitch. I trim the allowances and clip into the corners close to the stitching line. I turn the facing to the inside of the dress and press the neckline. I pin the facing with a few straight pins and top stitch the neckline 3 centimeters wide. If you do not have a marking on the throat plate of your sewing machine, you can stick a piece of adhesive tape 3 centimeters next to the needle that you can easily stitch along the edge of the tape to keep your stitching even. To stitch the side seams, which also include the sleeves, I lay the front right sides together with the back. I pin everything together at seam number 3 and stitch each side. I trim the allowances to 7 millimeters and neaten them together. I press the seams flat by pressing the allowances onto the back. I neaten the allowances of the underneath sleeve seams. I press the allowance to the inside and top stitch it 1 centimeter next to the edge. For the skirt, I lay both fabric panels right sides facing and pin the right edges together. This is how I stitch the side seams. I trim the allowances to a width of 7 millimeters before the seam and neaten the allowances together. I press the allowances so that they point toward the back when the skirt is pinned to the upper dress. I neaten the lower edge of the skirt. I press the allowances to the inside 1 centimeter next to the edge. To gather the upper edge of the skirt, I set the machine to a longer stitch of about 4 millimeters. I stitch 2 closely spaced lines. One is 1 centimeter next to the edge, and the other is 7 millimeters next to this line of stitching. As with gathering, I leave the threads hanging at each end. I pull the bobbin threads of both lines of stitching together to gather the skirt. The width of the skirt must fit the edge to which it will be attached later. When I have the correct width, I knot the threads together so that I can distribute the gathers evenly without risk of the skirt widening again. I slip the skirt over the upper dress with right sides facing by placing the upper edge of the skirt on the lower edge of the upper dress and pinning the edges together so that the side seams match. I stitch the edge of the skirt between the lines of gathering. Then I trim the allowances and neaten them together. I draw out the gathering threads and press the seam onto the upper dress. And there you have it! This lightweight, twirly summer dress is finished. Thank you for watching this Burda style video. We recommend our sewing machines of our partner Elna. Have fun sewing! We hope to see you soon with a new Burda style video.